Well, former U.S. Senator Sam Brownback has spent decades fighting for religious freedom around the world. Now he's focusing on threats to religious liberty right here at home.
When Sam Brownback left rural Kansas in 1994 for Washington, D.C., he brought his Midwestern faith values to Congress and championed the cause of religious freedom around the world. Brownback believed the United States should defend the rights of Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, and others to practice their faith according to their conscience. Then, in 1998, he joined Congressman Frank Wolf and then Senator Arlen Specter to help make the International Religious Freedom Act a law. After 16 years in D.C. and 2 terms as governor of Kansas, Brownback served as Donald Trump's ambassador at large for international religious freedom. Ambassador Brownback established the first global ministerial on religious freedom, bringing in hundreds of international faith leaders representing various religious beliefs.
Religious freedom really truly is for everyone. It's a right given by God.
Today, growing domestic threats to religious liberty have caused Brownback to shift his focus to the United States. Now, as chairman of the newly established Committee for Religious Freedom, he's fighting to preserve religious rights granted to us by God and guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution.
Well, it's an honor to have Ambassador Sam Brownback back with us. Welcome back to the 700 Club.
Thanks, Gordon. And congratulations on a great, long-standing program. This is a fabulous forum that you've provided and kept going for many, many years. Keep it up.
Well, it's God that's done it.
Well, that's true.
You look at this record, only God could have done it. But anyway, you have this new Committee for Religious Freedom. Tell us, what's the purpose? What are you trying to do?
Well, after working on international religious freedom for so many years, I came back home and found we're losing ground here. I mean, we're losing ground in our schools and our healthcare system, and you keep getting people crowding in, I say institutions really in government and big business crowding in on your right to freely practice your faith, your free exercise right that was written here in Virginia, the religious freedom, the First Amendment, which is a fabulous practical way to allow people to live their lives out. And we find it getting crowded out here. People getting canceled by their bank accounts, like our NCRF bank account was canceled. And you know, they wouldn't tell us. They said the decision was made at the corporate level. It is secret. It's irrevocable. We're canceling you. See ya. And this is happening to people and institutions and businesses. Governments are crowding in on people saying, okay, we'll give you these privileges, but you can't say that. You can't believe this. So if you want to be a person that practices traditional values, really, and I say traditional values, traditional Christian values, traditional Jewish values, traditional Muslim values, Hindu, you're just getting squeezed in the schools and in the whole place. So I said, we've got to come here and start working on this entity. And we've fashioned it after other movements. This is a 501c4, National Committee for Religious Freedom. We're going to have state affiliates, and most of the action will be there. And we want to back candidates that are pro-religious freedom and oppose candidates that are not. We want to do educational campaigns on religious freedom. And we've got to start fighting for this one here at home, Gordon. Any ground you lose on religious freedom in the United States gets magnified around the world, because this is the leader. And we're losing ground here. We've got to fight for it. Talk
about the ideology here. And it's amazing to me that our own government doesn't give room for freedom of conscience.
It's terrible.
And so you go after the Little Sisters of the Poor. You go after a Philadelphia group that's been providing aid for over a century, and you say, well, we're no longer going to use you for adoption services. Why is that? Why would they ever want to do that?
It's hard ideology. It's playing to a certain constituency. Instead of the traditional American way is to accommodate. We have Amish in Kansas. Near my hometown, there's a large Amish community. they don't go to school past a certain age, and we've found a way to accommodate them because we want them to be able to practice their faith. This is what their faith says. And praise God we have Amish. I mean, they're a wonderful group of people, but their belief is this way, and we found a way to accommodate. There's no will to accommodate on this, and that's really what we've got to do, and that's what we've got to stand up and fight for in your free exercise. You have in the First Amendment of the Constitution a right to freely exercise your faith. That's there, and we've just got to start fighting for it more.
There have been some recent victories in the Supreme Court. The football coach being allowed now to pray after a game. Free exercise was the main reason behind that. Do you have hope that on the legal grounds things are changing?
Yes. That Joe Kennedy case, and I just was with him a week ago, that's a fantastic movement. So before, everything was focused on the Establishment Clause, and so any scintilla of thought that this might establish a faith, can't do it. This court swung over here to the Free Exercise Clause, said, no, but you have a right of free exercise, and they granted that to Coach Kennedy. I think that's a bellwether case, but the problem is not everybody can go to the U.S. Supreme Court and get their rights adjudicated. We got to start fighting for these politically and getting people elected that back your free exercise rights, and that's what we're about and what we're doing. I think the legal atmosphere is moving nicely our way, thankfully, to this Supreme Court that's reestablishing the rule of law. They're not doing these things for conservatives. They are reestablishing what the Constitution says. But we're going to have to fight for these in the political arena, too.
Well, what would you say? I mean, it seems that one of the problems is the unelected bureaucrats are creating regulations that actually impose this as opposed to anything coming out of Congress. So how do we engage in that to say, no, bureaucrats, you don't get the right to impose on our free exercise?
I think it's really by electing people at the state, federal, and local level, and school boards and mayors of cities that would stand up to the bureaucracy, people in Congress asking questions of the bureaucracy, or putting in amendments, or cutting the funding for bureaucracies that are impinging upon your free exercise clause, and recognizing we're not fighting for anything exotic here. This is your basic constitutional, and I believe God-given right, and I think our founders believed God-given right to freely exercise my faith. You probably don't have the United States of America if you don't have the free exercise clause. Because those original colonies, they didn't agree on religion.
Not at
so
all.
They said, no established religion, but you can freely exercise your faith. And we've got to push back on those bureaucracies.
It's actually a great history lesson how they had an ecumenical service at the Constitutional Convention. There was a lot of controversy. What kind of prayer? Who's going to lead the prayer? All of these things. And they said, no, we need to throw this open and not have our individual states, religion, or practice govern what we do as a constitution. This isn't just for Christians, and that's one of the things I admire about the committee is that you're saying all faiths need free exercise.
Absolutely. And we've got on our National Advisory Board Protestants and Catholics, Jews, Muslims, Hindus. You know what? And these other faiths, they're as strong or stout about it as anybody because they're seeing their traditional values not be honored. They're being squeezed on their kids in school. And when they come home from school, the kids said, well, we've got to pick a pronoun for me to be addressed by here at home. And I've had these families come in and say, what's this? Why is this coming out of the school system that's a public school system? And they're in solidly and very supportive of this effort because they want to practice their own faith and their own traditions and do so peacefully, and they're finding they're getting crowded by government and other sectors.
All right. Well, fight the good fight. It's worth fighting.
It is.
It is the American way. every faith gets to have free exercise of their faith.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Gordon.
Terry, over to you.